Anyway, hello everyone. I'm Kolich, and I'm here with Johan,
It's me. Wow.
and I'm gonna be showcasing a speedrun of Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine for the Nintendo 64. This game originally came out on PC in 1999, and was ported to the N64 in 2000. It's a sort of action-adventure game in the style of the old PlayStation 1 Tomb Raider games. It was ported by Factor 5, which means it's very technically well made, but it's got some bugs for some reason that I'll get into later, which means the bugs are very useful for the speedrun because they let us skip large parts of the game, and I think it's gonna be an entertaining run because there's nothing better than broken N64 games.
Heck yeah.
So let's get into it. We start off by making a new save file. It's gonna ask us a few times if we really want to do that. And let's keep continuing naming our file something really audacious. Because it's bound to work out. And when I press the yes button here, the run's gonna start. So let's go.
Go, go, go. Ooh, load times. And cutscene
They're
skips.
basically instant load times because of the N64 cartridges being basically just extra RAM, right? They're just regular memory cells. So they're faster than CDs, which were used for the PlayStation. But yeah, that is the only cutscene. We're gonna skip, but we will skip a lot of the levels. We'll start immediately. I'm gonna jump into the slope, which will put Indy in a glitch state, which we call the sun walk. And the reason we call it that is if I walk backwards and then walk forwards, it looks like this. It's like the moonwalk, but it's the other way around. Get it? And the reason we do that is it also does this. And we're gonna go into this rock face so that Indy's face is inside. And we're gonna combine it with a second glitch, which is called hovering, by mashing the R button on the N64 controller. Indy rises up slightly every time I push it up. And I'm gonna line it up with a little smudge on this slope here to get enough height. And what will happen is when I release the crawl key and hold my analog stick forward, it's gonna launch Indy forwards at insane speeds. And I will use the slope to bounce, in a way. That's enough. Let's go.
So does this game like take place after another Indiana Jones game where he just like kept all the god powers he gained from like going through some ancient temples or something? And that's why he can just fly like that?
Believe it or not, I don't think that was intended. I think it's a bug.
What? They would never.
Yeah, and it's exclusive to the N64 version. The PC version is in a way less buggy, especially with the patch. And from the patched version on GOG.com actually works pretty well on modern systems, even though it's over 20 years old now. And yeah, this is a major story cutscene, and the cutscenes, except the first one, which was a movie, the cutscenes in this game are in-engine and cannot be skipped. So there's a few long ones, but mostly it's not that bad. Just this one is the longest one in the game, and it's right at the beginning. It's a bit like the test chamber in Half-Life, in that there's a big cutscene at the beginning, and then we can get going.
At least there's at least one cool trick before it. How hard is the launch to skip the entire like tutorial level?
Well, you know, this does look like the ruins of a
Yeah, thankfully, we have a good setup, so it's not that hard if you break early enough, because you really get launched at insane speeds, and if you collide with a wall, Indy just dies. So you need to brake by holding the Z trigger at the back of the controller. That's the walk key. And by holding that, Indy slows down.
Not sure.
as he's flying.
All we really know is he thinks the
But yeah, if you
attack is
hit
a joke.
the tent or
Why
the
isn't the
rock
world
opposite, you'll die
Indeed.
instantly.
Suppose the tower has some deadly force no one
But
else
yeah, it's
ever
not that
heard
bad.
of.
There was
Something as
a much
dangerous as
harder
nuclear
way we
fission.
used to do it
And
before
the
we discovered the
Babylonians tore
sunwalk
it
glitch,
down for
and that one
reasons
was
not discussed in a
very
good
stupid.
book.
Exactly.
It was so hard
It's an
that
amusing
I didn't do
theory,
it in full
but
game
as you
runs.
can
I
see, I've got
did an
troubles of my own.
alternative
You
version,
don't think I flew out here from
which
Washington just
didn't
to
use
listen
any
to them, I
launching,
hope. This
but
came
used
from the
different
Russian
glitches
internet.
instead. There's a lot of glitches in this
Somebody
game.
made a
We'll get
mistake.
through them as
This
we
looks
play.
like part of a steam engine, maybe a
Yeah.
locomotive from the last century.
It's interesting
There's no
that
mistake.
you know,
We've dated this
that
thing.
Indiana Jones here
It's
seems to
2600
die when he
years
collides
old.
with a wall. Given that some of the jumps we see later
Look at
really
that
makes
little
me
wheel
wonder whether or
spin.
not he actually cares about
How'd you find
gravity
it?
and momentum and
Come on,
obeying
AD,
their
with the
laws and whatnot.
CIA. We have spies.
It's almost the end of the cutscene. We successfully talked through it, so I'll just do a really quick recap on the story. So, Indy got informed by his friend Sofia that the Russians are digging in Babylon and looking for a mystical something which is more powerful than the nuclear weapons that the Americans have. And she showed him a cogwheel which looked really modern but was actually 2000 years old, so obviously Indy got interested. What you saw there was a little shop where we can buy items from money we get by collecting treasures in the levels, but I didn't pick up any.
Crazy. Indiana Jones is poor. More at 11. You see, like right there, he just leaps like 3 meters down, no
Mud
problem.
brick and not much else. Why do the Russians want
Probably
to
more
dig
than
out?
3 meters actually.
Yeah, true.
And imagine some people criticized him compared to the Tomb Raider games, right? Because Lara is doing somersaults and whatnot, and Indy isn't. Anyway, let's do another skip here. You're normally not supposed to crawl on sloped surfaces, but as I said, the N64 version is not perfect. And we went through a little gap in the rock, and now I'm out of bounds. And in out of bounds, you lose collision. Yeah, I fell through the floor. We can force the collision to load back in by swinging our whip, but it's gotta be timed precisely. Let me just save the game and then reload, because the save system in this game is actually a checkpoint system, but you can just do manual save, and when you load, it's gonna put you at the checkpoint.
Unlucky. Does the checkpoint system ever like screw you over, or you can still make saves, right? So I guess if you die in like a temple, does it like when you load the save just take you right back to the beginning of it or something like that?
Yeah, sometimes there are not enough checkpoints, although that's also can be used to our advantage, because we can wrong warp.
First try.
Yes, exactly.
What's this?
And by doing this, we fell through out of bounds into this place, which is called the Library of Nebuchadnezzar, and this skipped about 80% of the level. It's a really major skip, and now we just have to finish one final puzzle, where we collect 3 of these stone tablets. We already got 2. I'll just make this little jump slightly tricky, because you're not really supposed to be able to jump like this. The game is a little blocky and built on a grid, so the developers didn't really foresee doing diagonal jumps, so you can sort of get the better of the level designers. And oops, didn't quite make that one, but we can just use this bit of rubble as a backup. And here's the final piece.
Another text fragment.
So because the game is built on, wait, if the game is built on a grid, can you like jump further when you jump diagonally then, or?
The jump distance is still the same, but
Well.
you know, they just didn't really think that you would be jumping diagonally, especially because the PC version, which was made originally, had what is known as tank controls, where you can't move sideways, you can only move forward and backwards, and the arrow keys left and right are used for turning really slowly, like a tank. That's why it's called tank controls. I believe the
And so-
Tomb Raider games control the same way, but the N64 version uses the analog stick on the N64 controller, so it's much more fluid to play,
Well,
much nicer than the
they've been
PC
dead for
version.
thousands of years.
Yeah. So it's more or less like a Zelda game.
Yes, the control scheme is definitely very inspired by Zelda games. You can even see the C slots on the C buttons for inventory items.
Yeah.
Anyway, one consequence of skipping into this library is that we're normally supposed to take an elevator from the top that takes us down here, and now by inserting the cogwheel from the previous level into here, the elevator will rise up slightly to allow us access into the library, but because I skipped the elevator, it's all the way at the top, and it's now traveling to where it's supposed to be very slowly. It's gonna take about 40 seconds, but it's still much faster than playing the rest of the level normally. So it's a net
feel
time
like-
save.
I feel like for this cutscene you need to like somehow mod in just like a really long drum roll.
I can do it manually, but modding is probably out of the question given that it's a console game.
What? I thought you said you guys had the source code for this game. What? That's crazy.
We can read the code for the cutscenes and the scripted sequences because on the PC version it's not obfuscated at all. You can just it's just text files that you can read, and that way we figured some of the tricks out. But we can't modify the console version because we just have the cartridge. Anyway, here I'm gonna make a manual save and then reload it to restart at the checkpoint. And the reason I do that is because I need this block to be here. That one. Now
Puzzle time.
There's some
Yeah, I'm gonna
cuneiform
finish the
writing
puzzle
here, but I
by
can't read it.
putting
Some
the
of the
3
towers are
items
missing.
into this grid. It's very complicated.
There, it fits. But I still can't read anything.
Makes no
Still can't
sense.
read it.
Now it starts to
There we
make
go. The
sense.
last letter.
Let's see
Yes.
here. Make welcome seeker. Know that it was Nebuchadnezzar in heed of the writing.
And the
that
reason why
Marduk made appear unto
I
him,
had to reload the
buildeth
checkpoint
the
to
great engine.
make that stone block
Having
appear
no
is because
understanding, the rabble hath
the
trimmed down
button,
his work,
which is
but the
behind the
forward
block
trust
which
of
controls the
disciples
elevator,
are
doesn't work
scattered upon the
unless
face of
the
earth,
block is there,
and relics
because
go with them.
if you play the game properly, you're supposed to initially pull the block out of a wall to make the elevator go down, and then you have to move the block aside to have access to the button. And even though if the block wasn't there, I could just press the button immediately, the button just wouldn't work. It is required that the block is there and that the block is moved. And that's the sort of things that we figured out by actually reading the code for the cutscenes and the scripting.
I see. So there's like a little like you just literally see in like in the code. There's just like a little check.
Yeah.
Is blocked here. That's cool. It's very nice, I'd imagine, for like finding like I don't know potential. I guess is there really much in terms of cutscene skips in this game, aside from outright skipping the triggers and whatnot? Well, yeah, I guess that. I don't know. I don't know what I'm asking here. Never mind.
Well, reading the code was very useful for, if we have an idea of how to go straight towards the end. Is the end trigger actually active? Can we go there, or is it just not gonna work?
Yeah.
So there are a couple of levels where there were some ideas about how to skip stuff, but we just figured out that even if we did do that, we have to use something or go through a different place or make sure that something is activated, otherwise it just doesn't work. But then there are some levels where the end is just a walk trigger, so it works just fine. We'll see that later. And this is Agent Turner, the other guy, and he's the reason why we had to pick up that golden statue, because otherwise I literally wouldn't be able to exit the level, and the game would actually softlock. If you play the level properly, it doesn't softlock, but if you sequence break like we did, it actually outright softlocks.
Nice little demonstration there from Indiana Jones of how bartering works. Gives the fella his low poly infinity gauntlet, and in exchange gets his car. Incredible.
Cars are very useful. We'll see that later, actually. Okay, coming up is the Tianshan River level. And this one is longest level in the game actually. So I hope you like snow.
High quality snow effects here.
Oh look, he's changed. He's got the jacket now.
Let's go. That's how you can tell it's cold. You got the light windbreaker on.
Little fun fact, on the N64 version, the model with the jacket it's got even less polygons than the regular one, because you only see it in a few levels, so they figured it doesn't need the extra detail. On PC, both the models are equally as detailed. This is the first time.
hopping here.
Yeah, I was gonna mention. It's the first time you notice me doing this, because it is actually slightly faster to hop around instead of just running. That's an advantage exclusive to the N64 version. On the PC version, a lot of the animations are more rigid and just outright slower. Whereas on the N64 it's more fluid. And that's one of the reasons why it's much nicer to control, in addition to the stick.
I'd imagine just by not having tank controls alone, you're saving like at least like 10 minutes throughout the whole run, right?
Yeah, something like that. We're gonna ignore that guy and go inside this Russian border tower. Yeah, I'm actually gonna kill a couple of guys, because I do want to have as much health as possible for this level, just to be on the safe side, because they can really mess you up. On the PC version you have 5 different difficulties, but on the console version you have just 2. There's normal, and then there's the optional hard mode. As you can imagine, we're not playing on hard. Here's a neat little trick. By standing in between the 2 lockers, you can pick up items from both lockers at the same time, and that sort of messes up the cutscenes for picking up the items and lets you move, and we can activate all these buttons, which also have associated cutscenes. And since there are multiple cutscenes playing at once, they all cancel each other out, so that saves a few seconds. And now we get to ride the Raft, which is this game's vehicle section, because every action adventure game needs a vehicle section.
I don't think I've ever seen a game that has a raft where it's like actually fun to control, or like any sort of like rowboat or anything like that.
This one is no exception. The Raft is notoriously awful to steer, especially on the N64 version. The PC version is actually fine, but the N64 version is awful. Surprisingly, you would think it would control better because you have the stick and you can do more precise movements. But yeah, something is just not right with the Raft. More so that there are these rocks on the river, and they're supposed to puncture your raft. But on the N64 version, the collision is a bit wonky, and you can outright get stuck on the rocks. Yeah, a bit of lag there, just, you know, console stuff. You can get outright stuck on the rocks, and that's not nice. So we'll actually try to ignore the raft as much as possible by jumping on this boulder. And then I'm gonna crawl into the slope here, and I'm bugged. This is a sort of glitched state. And when I press the jump button, my orientation and angle gets locked according to the polygon that I stood on. And now I'm flying. I cannot control my height, that is dependent on the polygon. I can just move around with the stick. But yeah, now we're flying, and this is much faster than the raft.
In classic speedrunning fashion, the main player becomes a faster and better boat. Now, did you guys learn this from Half-Life 2 speedrunning, or did Half-Life 2 speedrunning learn this from you guys?
I don't believe we were inspired outright by Half-Life, because this glitch was found by a fella named Bluescreen, who actually found, I think, like 90% of the glitches in the N64 version. And really seeing all those glitches inspired me to start running this game.
He's in chat right now.
Ooh,
Wow.
let's go.
Incredible.
Now we commit
Welcome.
suicide, because that's one of the 2 ways we can exit this glitch. And be able to move normally, because when you're flying you cannot do much, like pick up items and use buttons and whatnot. You can really only fly. You can't even open the inventory, which is slightly annoying. We picked up a candle, and that's basically the main objective of this level. We have to pick up 4 candles to use them in a ritual of sorts. Now I have to use the dreaded boat a bit, not get stuck on this boulder there behind me. I dodged it, so that's nice.
Expert drifting here. So if you do get hit by a rock, does your like boat have like health, or do you just immediately die if you collide?
Yeah,
with one of
it
those?
has health. That's the yellow bar you can see in the bottom right part of the screen.
Oh, okay.
And you can use repair kits to patch the boat up. But the biggest issue is if you get stuck, you just, you cannot move. And the only thing you can do is reload, load a checkpoint, or die,
Yeah.
and then it loads the checkpoint itself. Now we're gonna do some jumping on these moving pistons, or whatever it's supposed to be. It's frankly one of those areas which I have no idea what it's supposed to be.
It's an industrial grade butter churn.
One more jump. This one is actually slightly tricky because Indy loves to not grab the edge. Yeah, like that. Amazing.
Oh. Well, it is a butter factory, so understandable that the ledges are kind of hard to grab. Are you going into like first person mode right before a lot of these jumps just to like, is there a specific lineup? Because you don't really, are you like trying to line something up in the corner or something? Because you don't really seem to have like a reticle or anything like that.
I just use it to line up because even though I have a stick to control,
Look what I
it's an N64 stick. It's not the greatest, and some of these jumps are really precise in terms of I have to jump at the very edge to make it. Here I'm going a slightly different route to just avoid that tricky jump because that one is particularly awful. So I can go like this instead. And I picked up a med kit, which might be useful later, just for safety's sake. Here's the second candle, and now it's time to start glitching again. I'm gonna jump on top of this altar, and you can see there's a slope here, and if I rub against it while crawling, I'm gonna get glitched again.
Why do all these glitches involve, like the fact that all these like glitches so far involve the crawling state makes it look so much funnier.
I think the majority of them involve the crawling, yes. It's very tightly controlled on the PC version, but apparently they just omitted some safety checks in the N64 version, and the result is this disaster that we're witnessing in real time. Anyway, crawling has some interesting mechanics. For example, if you initiate the flying from a polygon which is completely flat, you cannot let go and drop unless your head is inside a wall, which is why I went against that wooden part that was turning, and then I used the piston, which even though it's flat, because it's moving, it actually will let me to drop down, and then I dropped down on the plank, and that gave me the correct angle to fly out of there. And now I'm gonna fly up the river against the current, because it's much faster than taking the boat, the intended route, and then going all the way to the end of the river and there taking an elevator that would get me back up, and then going down the river again, because there are 4 candles to collect, and the fastest way you get them normally, you still have to travel through the river at least twice to collect them. But now I'm just instead gonna fly up the river.
Is there a reason you're kind of like riding the wall like this, or is it just the shortest path?
It's to avoid the current, because it still slows you down even though you're flying.
Oh. Does the game like think you're like on the ground or something like that?
Slightly, yeah. Now I'm gonna land on this roof, and I can continue flying. And we don't quite know how, on a technical level, the flying works, because it's exclusive. The glitch is exclusive to the console version, and we don't really have a way to pick the cartridge apart. I know some smart people have done it for big games like Super Mario 64, but this game is more niche, so we don't really have that sort of information. But yeah, you are simultaneously in the air and also slightly not, because you do get affected by the river.
I was gonna say this looks like the kind of it looks vaguely similar to like the kind of flying that they do in F-Zero X speedruns, I think. Which, you know, also N64 is in, although it's probably about the only similarity. Oh no!
Once again, we commit suicide to get rid of the flying glitch.
I like how he doesn't even try. He just falls in the water and he's gone. It's like, I'm out.
And because of the checkpoint system, we appear here. And we have to break a window. And look, there's the third candle.
The birthday cake's almost complete.
Look what I found.
Who's the birthday cake for, though? That's the question.
Beeswax candle.
The Russians?
I think it's some strange Kazakhstani deity. We're not really sure.
Unfortunate. I think making the Russians a birthday cake would have been a great way to end the Cold War.
Got a different strategy, which will you learn at the end of the run.
Blue Screen says he actually did think about F-Zero X when he saw that the flying glitch for the first time.
And here's the fourth candle in a large
What
tree,
have we here? Another candle.
which it's interesting. Okay, one more boat section. And there is one stone in particular that could ruin everything. So I'm gonna try
Uh-oh.
and avoid it.
Oh no. All these slopes.
You can see
Truly,
the high
there's
quality water shaders at work here.
And all those excellent ripples.
Okay, there's the stone, and the best way to avoid it is to do a 180.
Yo! The legend.
And this is the elevator that brings you to the top again. And as I said, you normally would have to ride it twice at least. But by doing all the flying stuff, you can reduce it just to once. You're never gonna see it again.
Let's go. And unlike last time, this elevator knows how to pace itself.
Yeah, fun fact, when I pull the lever, there's some cogwheel mechanism that gets attached there. Sometimes it glitches out and it rotates 90 degrees on the Z-axis and just completely looks ridiculous.
Oh.
Didn't happen, unfortunately. Would be fun to show that off.
Gotta find a consistent setup for it. He's doing it sideways.
There we go. This is the altar that we need the candles for. So we have to place them, and then we have to light them using the lighter, which you can see in the inventory slots there.
Success.
You just have that from the beginning.
Yeah, it's just a
Alright.
default item, just like the revolver and the whip.
He's Indiana Jones. He needs to be able to light his cigars to look cool.
Well, that ought to do it.
I think the lighter as part of Indiana Jones' inventory was based on Last Crusade, where he's in the catacombs and he uses the lighter to make a torch there, if I remember my movies correctly. There we go. On the PC version, he also has a piece of chalk, for some reason. It was intended to use the chalk as markers for your auto map, which is not included in the console version. On the PC version, the chalk is the source of many glitches, exclusive to that version, which are used instead of the flying stuff. It's less powerful than the flying, but it still allows some fun things. Here we don't have the chalk, but at least we can fly.
Strange place for a windmill.
And you can see the sanctuary in the background in all its 2D glory.
So I take it this was like some Russian encampment or something that you just raided.
It was the border between China and Kazakhstan. Obviously, in 1947,
Oh, yeah.
Kazakhstan was part of the Soviet Union. So I guess now we're technically in Tibet or something.
More snow. Oh god, there's water. Do we need more boats?
No. This is the end of boats. Well, not exactly. There's a secret level in this game, which you can unlock by collecting all the treasures, and there's more boats there. But for the speedrun, because this is an any percent speedrun, we don't play the bonus level, because it's bonus. So we shall dodge the boats.
Wonderful. Alright, so what are we doing here?
Gonna jump into a cutscene, and you want to land as close to the place where he stops walking there, because it saves time if he doesn't have to walk there slowly in the cutscene. And now things will start to get interesting, because once again I will crawl, and you can see that little piece of sloped snow there. It glitches us out. And now there's a little bump in the snow here, and we'll use that as our flying off point, and now we're flying. And this is the first instance in the run where we will fly out of bounds, because in this game, when there's just an untextured surface, it's like a gate to out of bounds. So here we go behind this tower, and you're never supposed to see this, but look at that, there's nothing there. We can just fly into it.
I like the snow effects with the not getting like drawn over.
Yeah, the Hall of Mirrors looks nice with the snow, that's
Yeah.
true. And when you fly out of bounds, you lose collision with everything. So now we can just sort of no-clip around. But now we want to land. And there are some precise spots where you can land even though you don't have collision. Because the maps, they're pretty large actually, even though you don't see most of them. So the N64 version loads them in bits, unlike the PC version, which just loaded the entire map immediately. And when you're between the points of the different sort of, I guess I could call it chunks of the levels, you can drop down and force yourself back in. And here, I'm gonna attempt a big skip. So I exited the flying state with the help of that falling platform there, and that also, the side effect of that is that I have the sunwalk state now. Now I'm gonna repeatedly press the crawl key, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get inside the wall. Feel like I'm close. Yep, I'm in. Gonna line up, and I will launch myself in this particular direction. You can see here, can't see it, there we go. Now you can see this bit of ice, and this ice is supposed to break after you defeat the boss, but I'm gonna launch past it like that. And this is the end of the level.
So with the state you were in, did you just like not care about collision at all, or did you just like launch forward so fast that like the ice is like between the two? You're so fast like the ice is between the 2 points where you actually are.
So the way it works is because I clipped into the wall, I was out of bounds for a bit, so I lost collision. So when I launched, I didn't have collision, but in the sunwalk state, the collision can load back in naturally if the level is fast enough. And because I didn't achieve large speeds, because it was just a short distance, I actually was able to land behind the bit of ice.
You talking about the Pacific?
I
It's a
see.
wide stretch of water.
Later in the run, we'll launch larger distances, and then it's going to be slightly a bigger problem to get collision back. But for now, it was easy. And this was a very major skip. First with the flying, that skipped straight to the boss fight arena, and this skipped the boss fight. So if you play this casually, I think this level alone is at least 40 minutes long.
Oh wow.
And I believe the glitchless record for this level is like 26 minutes or something like that. And we did it in about 5, I believe.
Lordy. Still no money. Is that going to become a problem later?
We'll pick up a few treasures, because there will be an item that we have to purchase. So, even though we skipped it, what we're supposed to do there in the boss fight arena is we're supposed to pick up the first part of the Babylonian machine. And even though we skipped it, the game is actually gonna give it the part to us in the next level anyway, because we're supposed to have it. which is handy
Paradise on
that the
Earth.
game does this. It's only on the
They really
console
won't
version.
let
I
me
guess
ever
it's a
sign up
side
for
effect of the
total
checkpoint system.
acceleration,
Because
unless
on the
somebody
PC version, if you skip
something
a
lured them into
major
it.
item, like the machine part, you just don't have it. So if I open the
Uh,
inventory here, you can see that I have the ergons part.
I see. So the PC version just has like quick saving, quick loading,
Looks
like
like this
a
place
Half-Life
used to be
game or something, or
inhabited.
what?
Yeah, PC version doesn't have the checkpoint system, it just have manual quick saves.
Yo, they got the monitor
A
lizard.
machete.
Wow.
Ooh. I think it's, I don't know how it's called in English, but I believe it's a Varan lizard? I don't know. Is that what you call them?
Yeah, Varan is like the Latin name, and most places, from what I've most European languages, from what I understand, use that. In English, we say monitor lizard just to confuse the lizard with gaming setups, you know.
Ah. Anyway, I picked up the machete, which is a very major item, because it allows me to cut through cobwebs, which are otherwise completely impassable. Yes, we can go out of bounds, we can fly, but cobweb is just too much.
Well, spiders are strong. What can I say? It's the bugs fighting back. You're exploiting so many bugs that they have to take a stand for their fallen brethren.
Now we'll go here, and we'll do another skip. So this piece of land is slightly angled, and we'll go forwards to go to another polygon, which changes our angle, and now we can hover and go inside this rock. And when I stand up, I get launched, even though I don't have sunwalk. There we go.
Oh my.
My speed was so
Glory.
high I took damage. And I fly up onto this platform, and this button actually opens the door, which is the exit of the level. Normally you're supposed to go very much around through a lot of the ocean and stuff to get into this cave from the other side, and press that button. Wow, my health is really low. That was actually kinda close. But it worked out. Now we just go here and go into the exit.
If you die, does it just take you back to the last checkpoint, or do you have to restart the whole level, or what happens?
Well, it does take you back to the checkpoint, but I'm not
right.
sure where the last checkpoint is in here. It might be
Yeah.
somewhere next to the button, actually, or it might be just the start of the level.
Right, because you skipped so much of it.
Yes.
Now where are we going?
We're actually inside a volcano. Slash temple. Slash something.
I mean, where else would you build a safe place for people to worship, other than inside a volcano?
Geographically, I guess it was told in the cutscene at the end of the sanctuary level, but the priestess there sent us to Palawan, which is actually an island in the Philippines. It's a real place. Although I don't believe they have this sort of temple there. I think that was made up.
What? I thought Indiana Jones media was supposed to be informative. What's the word?
Educational?
Educational. Jesus, starts with an A. Archaeological pieces of education. I don't know. I can't speak.
Anyway, there you can see what the machine parts are useful for. The superpower of the ergon part is to break through slightly damaged walls. And the other parts have different abilities, which will come in handy later.
I take it this. Yeah, no, there's no backtracking or anything in this game with the tools. It just helps you get through further levels.
Yeah, in terms of the level progression, the game is strictly linear. But
Yeah.
the levels themselves, some of them are actually quite open. They're really fun to play through casually. It's just that we skip so much of them, you don't really get to appreciate it. My favorite level is probably level 12, which is in Meroe in the Sudan, with the pyramids. And you get to go through, I think, 4 pyramids and explore them really thoroughly as you search for key items. Say that one, that's a fun level. Oh no, that was slightly too left. Oops.
Unlucky.
Thankfully we've got a checkpoint, so it's not too bad. And these platforms are not here if you load from a checkpoint, which is interesting.
Ooh, Tintin1 asks if do you ever see an Infernal Machine remaster or port for the future?
Maybe.
Or maybe even coming out on the Switch with the N64 stuff that they recently announced.
I mean, there was announced a new Indiana Jones game, so if they actually remember that they have the IP to make Indiana Jones games, maybe they could remaster some of them.
I just forgot, it's been too long. I like how just casually Jones stands there as the boulder, like just flips his nose.
Yeah, that was slightly
Moves
funny.
past.
You're supposed to hide in that little alcove, but I just walked backwards slightly and dodged the boulder that way. Anyway, now I'm gonna attempt a really major skip. So I activated the sunwalk, and I'm gonna go into this slope, and I'm trying to get in the angled. And now I'll line up my shoulder with that line there between the two polygons. And now I'll start hovering, and I'll go through the wall. And now I'll line myself with a little smudge on this rock. And I'll go forwards. And I'll launch at high speeds. I was slightly too low, so I actually went through the ground. But what I'm doing is I'm launching myself through out of bounds all the way to the end of the level. So that's a very major skip.
Oh. Unlucky.
Annoying jump. And it's
There we go.
fun fact on because we're able to extract a lot of the game files from the PC version. We were actually able to take the models for the levels and open them in Blender, and that way we can line up the trajectory for these launches
Oh, cool.
properly.
That's sick.
Because in-game you cannot see much out of bounds because of the Hall of Mirrors effect.
Yeah.
So some
That's
very
neat.
very smart people came up with some of these trajectories, which I'm trying to execute. There we go.
Ooh.
Now
I think it's funny how sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have to jump once to deactivate the sunwalk to be able to open this door. And that's the end of the level.
Let's go. Very smart people. It was just me though, says Blue Screen.
That's very true. Although I think Osukarui came up with a launch on a different level. I might be wrong though. Okay, coming up into the next level, we'll do a glitch, which I call pre-move. You can give in the inputs on the very first frame of a start level cutscene, or a level start cutscene, rather. So what I'm doing now is I'm holding the R button, which is the crawl key, throughout this cutscene, and you can see before he started moving in the scripted way, he was crawled,
Uh-huh.
and I'm still holding it, and now I release it, and what this does is when the cutscene ends, I will be in the flying glitched state, like this.
Yo!
And we'll use this to fly through the whole level.
Let's go.
I first have to activate this cutscene though, because when you're flying, as in you're actually in the air, you lift off. If you try to activate a cutscene, the game will soft lock because you cannot move normally. But if I'm just on the ground like this, it's fine. That's why I activate it first, and now I'll fall down here, and there's a little... The corner in here is chipped off, so I will use that as the lift-off angle. And I'll fly through here.
You really need some like Indiana Jones kazoo music or something for all these flying sections.
I made a little meme video about this flying glitch because it's really, really funny. I will land on this piece of debris and fly up here.
I like to think all the little funny dances he does of like crouching and uncrouching or like jumping up a slope very slowly that he does before like activating them is just like some dance summoning some like wind god to carry him across. Look at him go.
Oh, he's in the ceiling. Whoop! It's that's a little funny because you're locked to the polygon. If there's something in your way and it's not too steep, you can sort of rub against it, and then when the obstacle disappears, the game sort of launches you or snaps you into the place where you're supposed to be according to the polygon. Anyway, through a series of liftoffs there, we found an angle which allowed me to fly to the sky, and there is the no-draw polygon there, which let us go out of bounds. So now I don't have collision, and I'm going to fly to the end of the level, which is in
And there's
here.
our lizard friend waiting. I think it's really funny, like, I don't know, just because this is an old game, you know, those sorts of things usually come with a lot of nostalgia, and like when you play this sort of thing as a kid, you're like, the world feels so much bigger than it actually is. And then like you find all these like speedrunning strats that let you explore like the edges of it, and you're like, oh, this world isn't actually very big. But at the same time, because of like all the things you can do with speedrunning, it's like a whole new thing just like opened up. So like that one like idea that like, oh, there's something beyond like all these cliffs and whatnot is just like destroyed, but at the same time there's just like so much more cool stuff that you find as a result, which is kind of neat.
Some of these levels feel really small now with the flying straight to the end things, even though they're
Yeah,
quite large.
crushing your childhood dreams.
Thankfully, I had about 15 years of playing this game normally before I ruined it forever.
Turner!
Yeah.
Where is everybody?
So this is the second vehicle level in the game, and I'll pick up actually some treasure here. Look, gold coins.
What have
Ooh,
we
money!
here?
Of course, the first thing we do when we get to the American base is pick up some money.
A Jeep. Let's see if this thing still runs.
And now we'll have some fun with the Jeep, because the Jeep is actually way better at riding up things than you would think. So I'll just ride up
Yo.
this cliff, and I'll jump out of bounds, and hopefully land in a cave. Not quite like that. Let's try again. So yeah,
I absolutely love the whole just like enter a new level and the very first thing you do is like, you know what, heck you game devs, unloads your level.
oh,
Oh,
that was not far enough. It's okay. A bit of reverse and go again. There we go. This should work. Let's go. So this skipped about 50% of the level. Just falling through the out of bounds into this cave. And now the rest of the
Yo.
levels is just some optimized racing lines. So if you enjoy racing games, this is gonna be a fan favorite for you.
this vaguely reminds me of like some Halo 3 speedrunning stuff where you like drive like a warthog or something on like a cliff edge to go out of bounds.
And here is a little maze section, which we have to go through.
Uh-oh.
It's fine, I know my way through.
What do you mean it's not randomly generated in 1990 whatever when this game first came out?
Nah,
Oh,
you have to
unlucky. Maybe next time.
find the way once. With a little
Oh,
break here, because we have to kill this guy, and I want to take his machine gun, because the machine gun is going to be very useful for a boss
What
fight
have we
down the
here?
line.
An assault rifle.
Pick that up, and we pick up more coins. And the purpose of these coins is double. First of all, it's a bit of money to buy something, but also picking up the coins ensures that the submachine gun gets saved in my inventory, and I'll have it in the future levels, because the inventory system in the N64 version is a bit wonky. Sometimes your items disappear because they don't get saved properly, but picking up treasure ensures that everything gets saved.
uh-oh, is he gonna get the ladder? Who knows?
Yay!
About time
Hey.
you showed up, Jones. I was almost worried.
I love the the
Me
driving
too.
mechanics just like looks
Listen,
super
while you were
funny because like the
hunting
car
artifacts,
just like
I was eavesdropping
it
on the
looks like it's like
Russians.
slow
They
at
did
first and then
enough
just
here.
like accelerates like
Novikov
really
got word about
fast.
ancient machinery in the Pyramid of the
It's
Sun
like some
in
exponential curves or
Teotihuacan,
something.
Mexico.
built by some Babylonian priest. Azurim, I think.
So now
Ezra.
Indy is told that the
We
Russians
might just
gave
get
up
a
on
jump on
the
our
second
friends.
machine
They're
part, which
traveling by
Indy already
boat.
picked up, although we skipped picking it up actually, but as I mentioned before, the game just gives it to me anyway. And now we're going into Mexico. But first I'll buy this
Go.
submachine gun ammo. That's why I picked up the coins. Because we need some extra.
And the SMG is like your primary weapon for the rest of the run, right?
Yes, I mean, we don't fight that many enemies, just because of the nature of the speedrun. But yeah, the SMG has the biggest DPS, and we will use it for the boss fight to kill him as quickly as possible.
Right. Pulls out the lighter to illuminate everything, and then immediately puts it away.
Cobweb ahead, so we need a machete. Dodge a little trap. For the longest time, I always forgot that that trap is there, and I got crushed every time. But now
Oh
I
no.
finally just something
Yeah.
snapped in my brain. Yep, there's a trap there. Just don't go into it, please.
And of course, by snapped in your brain, you mean just sticky note on your monitor so you don't forget, right?
No comment.
Dead center.
Did I get poisoned? I think I did.
Oh no.
I actually didn't because I dodged it through the cutscene. Let's go.
Yo.
I did a little line up on the floor to make that jump because the jump skips a cutscene. Holy moly!
Oh.
I
Were you
got
trying to like land?
yeah. I want to land on the statue, but I got bounced off in a slightly bad way, so I died. But that's okay because there's actually a very convenient checkpoint here, which I didn't know existed. But that's nice. There we go.
So you can just hold forward there, straight up? That's funny.
Yeah, you just want to stop for a bit before you fall to decrease
Yeah.
your momentum. Okay, now
Mhm.
I'm gonna line up with the column here. Go,
Summon the wind gods once again.
yeah. Be sort of between these two blocks and then mash R while holding backwards to get the flying glitch. There we go.
Woo! And we're off.
Yeah, coming up is a skip which is the only one in the game which I'm not sure why it works, but basically when you release the flying, you can still grab ledges, and I want to grab this column there. There we go. And now I hold the analog stick left and the walk key, and when I let go, you can see the Hall of Mirror effects. I lost some collision, not all collision, but I can like go through this door and then let go, and this is the exit.
Easy.
I don't really know why you lose collision there. It doesn't make much sense to me, but the blue screen found it and it just works. So
It's an ancient Babylonian mystery.
maybe Aztecian mystery since it's in Mexico. Anyway, here we do
True.
more pre-moving. I hold forward and the jump button, and I just whee jump off the waterfall here. But because it's a cutscene, I don't take damage, so I survive the fall.
Where am I?
That's
Unknown
fantastic.
territory for sure.
Where'd he
But
go?
Azurim found it long before I did.
Also, blue screen out here talking a little smack in chat saying, Tio, the only level that you can't do well.
I actually learned how to do it, so shut up.
Is
I'm-
this Tio here?
That was the previous one.
Oh, okay.
For the
Pretty
longest
smooth.
time, I had a lot of trouble getting that skip to work consistently,
Yeah.
but I think I
And
got it
also
now.
not, yeah, and also not getting hit by the trap.
Yeah, that one too. This level is another one of Jones Airlines just going brr.
I feel like we need some dinosaurs down there and Jurassic Park music. We got the one bird already.
You know, to be fair, this level, this Olmec Valley, does actually remind me a lot of the Dinosaur Valley in Tomb Raider 1. If you played that. It's got a similar vibe, you know, going through a cave and suddenly there's a lush green valley and just it has randomly dinosaurs inside. So apparently they survived a meteor in that hidden valley or something. No dinosaurs here though. Just a very big snake in this pyramid to our left. But
Okay, that's something.
we'll skip the snake hopefully because
What?
yeah, you're supposed to fight it and then there's a hole appears in the side here, and that's where the exit level trigger is. But by falling into it, I can trigger the end cutscene and exit the level. But I just missed it slightly, so I'll actually load the checkpoint and do it again. This this trigger for the end cutscene is really small. It's very narrow, so it's quite precise to get that. Yeah, the game loads me here.
Oh no, that's really far back.
Yeah, I have to get the flying glitch again. Thankfully, there's this backup stone, which I can also use. Just crawl into it and I get glitched.
Go.
Bad kitty.
King of the jungle right there. But he can't fly, so.
There we go. There's the right polygon. Let's try again. This is probably the most scary skip in the game, just because of how much time you lose if you don't get it first try.
And so the speedrun is now to the point where if you want to beat world record, you pretty much have to get all these like major skips first try, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Unless I mean, if there's a skip where the checkpoint is a bit closer, then you have more leeway. You can maybe fail twice.
Oh, okay.
And still have good pace.
Like I said, it is a longer speed run, so it's just naturally you can make more mistakes and get away with it. All right. Here it comes. The hole-in-one.
There we go.
Let's go!
Whoop!
Oh, he's gone. What? Oh.
Ah, it's the Russians. They got us.
Forgot to put a sticky note on your screen for that trap.
The soundtrack for this game is I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Obviously not composed by John Williams, but the guy who made it, I can't remember his name. I don't want to butcher it, but he made a great job composing something in the style of John Williams. So especially, I recommend you search for Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine Russian theme. That track is amazing, but unfortunately we don't get to hear it very much in the speedrun.
Well, that's the nature of any percent, right? Just
Yeah.
skip all your favorite songs.
Always. Anyway, we got apprehended. That's a nice word. Apprehended by the
What?
Russians.
Oh my god.
And they took all my items. So I want to get them back. But first I have to escape this cell. So we're gonna do some bamboozlery by knocking on the door. And then look, there's a vent here.
Absolutely pranked.
Got
Put him in
him.
jail. Yay!
I love how it cuts him off. That's actually N64 only.
Yeah.
And this guy here is making a very good job of making sure no one gets past him. So we just jump around and he doesn't see us. Normally you're supposed to find the part of the Infernal Machine which makes you invisible and go past him. But on the N64 you can just jump through and he doesn't know if you jump fast enough. Because I guess he cannot see you unless you're on the ground, and if you jump fast enough you don't land for long enough for him to notice you.
So this being apprehension, this is where we fight the spies, or what?
I guess technically we're the spy.
Oh, roles reversed. Yeah, well, you're the spy and you can turn invisible. It all makes sense.
Yeah, you're also supposed to do some eavesdropping, but you know, skip.
Stoy!
Don't
Anyway,
have time to listen. We know it all
here's
anyway.
another
Hey,
machine part, and we need this one to progress.
I love how just like in Zelda games, like your enemies flash blue and like you flash red whenever someone takes damage.
Yeah, that's also N64 only. So I guess in that sense the PC version is slightly more realistic, I guess.
Oh, they're like hit, like tumble, sort of.
Yeah, just some blood spatter. Anyway, this is the reason why we need this part to blow it up. And on the PC version you can actually skip picking this up, because on the PC version you can open these locked doors from the other side. Just the button, you can press it from the other side.
Of course. Health's looking a little low. Is that going to be a concern?
It should be fine. And here I'm gonna make a little trick jump to grab here.
Yo.
And this skips doing a little puzzle here, where you're supposed to set up a crystal that lets you levitate with the third machine part, which we were supposed to pick up in the level with the snake and the pyramid, but we skipped it. And here,
You know,
I'm gonna
you
jump
can already levitate anyways, so
a few
you need
times.
to...
Normally you're not supposed to be able to go up a platform which is directly above you, but if I jump a couple of times, there we go.
Yay!
Okay, I'll make
Normally you're not... Sorry, go ahead.
I'll make a safety save here, because the game can crash sometimes, so the safe is safety.
He's opening the secret level.
Yeah, so I should maybe start talking a bit about the technical state of this game. So I mentioned it was developed by Factor 5, who are really some amazing N64 developer wizards. For example, they're the guys who made the N64 port of Resident Evil 2, you know, where they took the game, which came on 2 CDs on the PlayStation, and they put it into a 64 megabyte cartridge. Just pure wizardry.
Yeah.
And they're the same guys who worked on this game, but unfortunately,
what have we here?
they were rushed by LucasArts, because LucasArts wanted them to work on a different game as well, to release it in time for Christmas, so they rushed this. And you can tell it, because about the last 6 levels drop off in quality. They're not as polished, and the performance suffers a lot. So coming into the next level, and basically all the levels beyond that, the FPS takes a nosedive.
Fades out of existence.
Yeah, little quirks like that. So whereas the early levels, like for example the first level of the game, they look nicer than the PC version. The later levels look exactly the same, if not worse. Which is unfortunate, because I believe if they got more time, this could have been a great game.
Yeah.
For a similar reason, actually, this game never released in Europe. It's North America only.
Oh. And he's back. No boats.
This is the pyramid level I was talking about. Casually, I think this one is one of the best in the game. And also one of the longest, but I think you can sense there's gonna be some trickery.
I see some very big slopes. So I only know that means one thing.
King Solomon's Mines, property of Heinrich Horner, Actian Gesellschaft, 1923. More like wishful thinking incorporated, if you ask me.
Ooh, this is much choppier than before.
Oh golly.
We're gonna do some flying, and fun fact, this was actually one of the first flying skips that were discovered.
I'm sensing a trend here with starting your flying while also being chased by some sort of like cat or dog.
These hyenas are absolutely fierce. They can demolish you in seconds.
You're lucky he's alone. I think was it in the wild hyenas can like travel in packs of up to like 80 or something like that.
Thankfully, there's not 80 of them in here, because probably the N64 couldn't manage it.
Yeah.
They come in packs of 3. And there's a little
Uh.
sort of side quest in this level, actually, where if you kill all the hyenas, a small African boy gives you a reward.
Oh. Casually dodging some snakes there.
Yeah, so by flying out of bounds, we of course lost our collision, and now we landed here, and this is the exit that leads into King Solomon's Mines.
Ooh.
And here comes a fun little N64 only skip of sorts. The King Solomon's Mines levels is a sprawling net of railroads and mining shafts, and you traverse them in a mining cart. You'll see the mining cart in a bit.
I
But
have a
it
feeling I
loads
know
in.
where this is going.
Yeah, there we go. And if you know your N64 business, you know that the console has 4 megabytes of RAM, and then it has an expansion pack which gives you 4 megabytes extra. And this game is so big and so open that it only runs if you have the expansion pack. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn the console off, and I'm gonna
Uh-oh.
take the expansion pack out to reduce my memory. And now I'm gonna load back into the game. I'm gonna attempt to load the level. There's the Nintendo logo.
That's some high quality gears right there.
Skip it. There's the main menu. There's our profile. And you'll see in the level selection screen that there's the expansion pack symbol on this level. So when I attempt to load it, this happens. Because we don't have the expansion pack, you can see already that it looks much chunkier than before.
Yeah.
And the game is
Oh my God.
just programmed that if you don't have the expansion pack, it just fades out and it skips you into the next level.
Oh. Well, that's awfully nice.
And that's how we skipped the mines.
I was gonna ask at the beginning of the run because it was some like an old Nintendo console. I was like, okay, are we gonna like load in like Paper Mario so that we can glitch to the end of the game, or?
Anyway, let me restart the game again and put the extra memory back, because the extra memory is actually helpful for just playing the game. It runs much better with the extra memory.
And that's the only level where you can really do that, right?
Yeah, the rest of the game works fine without the expansion. It's just slightly choppier and it looks more awful. But they're also in the later levels, because they're not as optimized. There's some visual artifacts, like the game starts flashing black occasionally, which is really
Yeah.
What's the word? Distracting. Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put the expansion pack back in and continue playing normally with that. There we go, that's much better.
Oh, I've seen this level before. I think. Wait, maybe.
Yeah, I believe you did. I showed this level to you when we were setting up. And this level has a very major skip. It's another out-of-bounds launch.
Here we go.
So we want to skip the whole level, but this one, it's probably the trickiest skip in the game, at least for me.
You.
Oh, we were so close.
Oh no.
We don't have the sunwalk state, but we will force collision back in by swinging our whip mid-air.
Hold on, I'll be right back. Sorry. I'm just getting a call.
It's okay. We'll be here for a while, possibly, but it's absolutely worth it in terms of the amount of skipping you do. I believe the world record for this level is just over 30 seconds, which is absolutely crazy. There we go, that's where we want to land, just we didn't quite get the collision back in quick enough. It's a bit wonky and unreliable because you are basically abusing the hardware in this instance. So you're not always gonna get the results that you want. But we can just try again. It's quite fast to redo.
I returned, and it seems I haven't missed the best skip in the game yet.
There we go.
Let's go!
Got it. Third try. That's actually really good. And there's the exit. And this is one of those long cutscenes. So by this point in the story, we are supposed to have picked up all the 4 machine parts. And look, there's
Is that
Sophia.
you?
More or less.
Are you all right?
Howdy.
I am one hurtin' archaeologist, but I'll live.
Oh, good. Hand up those machine parts you've collected, and we'll get you out of there. Indy?
Who's we?
Come on, Jones.
Love how it's
We need
fully
those
voice acted, but
Don't
then
you
just
love
the
your
mouths
country?
don't move at all.
In the name of the United States of America.
That's
man.
N64 quirk actually, because on the PC version they have mouths, but I guess it was too much for the console, I guess. Maybe it has something to do with how they animated the models, because if you watch their arms, you can see how it bends in the elbow and the arms really deforms.
Yeah.
But on the PC version, they have it looks like they have actually skeletal animation. I'm not sure if that's the case, but the arms don't deform strangely like that. And maybe they had just had to animate it a different way on the console, and the mouths would look weird if they were opening, so they just cut it. That's my theory.
Yeah, that cheers me.
Yeah.
Those ignorant fools know nothing of Babel. But I
So yeah, we
and
sort of
I
got
know
betrayed
we need to
by our
fight
friends,
the tower,
and they
because
stole
of all the
all the
biblical
machine parts.
turmoil waits to complete his design
Hate it when that
for
happens.
mankind.
Who? What are you yammering about?
The Lord Marduk himself crossed over from the Ethereum to inspire the Babylonian priests. And Marduk,
So is this guy then our friend now?
Yeah, this one, that's the Russian scientist who leads the excavations. And it turns out he's actually not such a bad guy. He's basically just a nerd who got interested in it because of the history and just the weird stuff. And he doesn't really have anything against Jones, so he just lets him go.
What a swell guy.
Yeah, it turns out the villain is actually a good guy.
Was it the guy we gave the Infinity Gauntlet to at the beginning?
Yeah, that's the villain now, the Turner.
I see.
Because he took our parts, and now we're going after him, and we want our stuff back.
Go, go, go.
Sophia? Turner, they've been here all
Now,
right.
if you're a keen observer, you might remember this room. This is where we
Yo!
put the tablet in, and it turns out behind this map, there's actually a secret entrance, which leads into the bowels of the Babylonian machine.
Incredible. Why didn't we just go there from the very beginning?
Because we didn't know better.
Unfortunate.
Holy, that's ancient robots.
Uh-oh.
Here's a fun little trick. I'm gonna line up to be perpendicular with the floor here, and there's a little gap between this platform and the ground, and I can just go through to skip a little puzzle.
Let's go. This temple, like, very much reminds me of some, like, Majora's Mask thing or something.
Ooh, I actually haven't played Majora's Mask, so I
I haven't either, Sorry, go ahead.
Cannot verify.
Yeah.
Ominous music.
Uh-oh. This is the hacker scene.
This is definitely like some ancient alien stuff.
Finally, the new world beckons. It's up to us as Americans to meet the other side and secure their cooperation with the West. We need an ambassador.
Don't be a fool. You can't go in there. I sense danger, an evil force waiting to destroy us.
Hey, you two.
Jones,
Very
stay out of
much
this.
like the,
Don't worry, Sophia.
we find an alien or like another world, and our first order of business, make sure they don't cooperate with the Russians.
Yeah, I think it's a great motivation for a villain. And look, you can see he's
Oh,
a prick
no!
because he betrays even his partner.
Impressive, isn't it?
What?
We've struck a gold mine.
This guy's gonna have no friends left by the end of this.
Only I'm having some trouble with the controls. You're a professional. You've studied archaeological puzzles. Help me solve this one.
Why should I help a thief?
In the name of freedom, man! We're in a war!
All right, how's this? Stop whatever you're doing right now before you ruin the site. We'll apply for a grant and spend a few years studying the place. Research money's tight these days, but with your connections, it's a sure bet.
Forget your ivory tower, Jones. Here's our chance to save democracy.
Let's vote on it.
He pulls out a gun. I love that line.
I gotta turn up the volume of the game. Forgot I could do that.
Turner, come back here.
See you later, Jones.
And he's gone.
That's fantastic.
Turned invisible.
Don't worry, Sophia. I'll think of something. I hope.
So that was a great cutscene, and also a really long one. So I'm gonna run around here for a bit, just to make sure the checkpoint is activated, and I'll make a save, just in case I die, so I don't have to watch that again. Even though it's amazing, it's really long. Okay, and now we have to go around the machine and fix all the messing that Turner has been doing. So the first bit is here.
You know, naturally, Indiana Jones, on top of being an archaeologist, also has a degree in computer engineering.
Thankfully, I did not get struck by lightning there, which can easily happen if your timing is bad, because it's on a cycle there.
Mm-hmm.
And we got the first machine part back. And as Indy said, it was placed completely incorrectly, because apparently Turner doesn't know how to read ancient Sumerian.
Dumbass.
So we gotta find the right part and put it back in the right place. And this is... we just swim in air. That's the Ethereum, and that's the energy from the other dimension where the Babylonian god Marduk resides, and he's the one who inspired this machine and the whole business to the ancient Babylonians. There's another part, and if I hold the B button during that cutscene, I will trigger the cutscene again while this cutscene is happening, and the two cutscenes cancel each other out, and I can regain control of Indy sooner.
That's
And
cool.
that's the moment where the cutscene ended, and it teleported me into another place and let me grab this quicker.
Whee. Finally, some whip swinging. A whole hour and 20, almost an hour and 20 into an Indiana Jones game, and we only now use the whip. That's kind of crazy. There's got to be laws against that.
I actually used the whip in level 5 as well, but
Oh, never mind.
there's definitely not that much whipping with all the skips we're doing. This is a platforming section, which is actually slightly tricky, so that's why I made a safety save there. And more ancient robots, and these guys respawn infinitely, so I want to get out of here as quickly as possible. Even normally, you know, just beyond the normal speedrunning motivations.
Yep. Swimming in this, like, otherworldly Babylonian god water can't possibly be good for you.
I don't know, it does look very clean though,
My power will change
surprisingly.
the world. Turner fouled up again.
That's the second
Not
part.
again. What an idiot.
It was obviously that this one was supposed to go in.
Man. They really just let anybody fight for freedom. That's crazy. Uh-oh.
So, fun fact about this level, this is the only level at this point which we do basically normally. This is one of those levels where we tried to look for sequence breaking and we just found out that the scripting is bulletproof. You cannot skip anything, you have to pick up everything to make the end work at all.
I guess you can't clip through any sort of door or something because you're fighting a boss here at the end. You gotta... And that's what ends the
Even if
level,
you
right?
skipped some door, if you don't put all the machine parts in the correct places, the final thing that triggers the ending just doesn't work.
What do you know? It worked.
Everything has to be at its place for the final script to trigger. Fall down. Didn't take any damage, that's nice. I do have medkits to spare, but it's always nicer to not have to use them. And these are some strange creatures. They look like I don't know, like giant centipedes, I guess.
Missed them. I was looking at chat.
Anyway, the time has come. Let's pull out the submachine gun.
Look out, he's got a gun. Ah!
Turner, you got the part I need. Hand it over.
Sorry, can't do that.
Andy, help me!
Come on, it's our only chance to save Sophia.
You don't fool me, Jones. Once you stop the commies, you'll use the machine to take over. That's your plan.
The world's seen enough dictators, don't you think?
You'll never get away with it.
I like Sophia, like the little crystal screaming "help me" just reminds me of like that one clip
Away
with
from
like
me.
Mario in a jar. Like, get me out of here.
Okay, so now we're fighting Turner, and he likes to teleport around with his invisibility. And it's really random, but with the power of the submachine gun and some luck, we're able to dispose of him relatively quickly. Especially the
was about to
submachine gun, that helps a lot.
Yeah. I was about to make fun of him for living despite being shot with like pretty hefty gun multiple times, but no, that dude just dropped. He's gone.
It was a very fun timing, because he died exactly as he was about to bugger off.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Okay, and now we use the invisibility to dodge this remote lightning ball.
Uh-oh. The aliens are abducting him.
And that's a talking robot.
That's me, I guess. Indiana Jones.
Make me whole, Master, and I may obey your wishes.
The
Incredible.
inscription reads, "Thus do I lift man to new heights." Turner.
Thankfully,
fouled
with
up
some
again.
new tech, the boss fight with Turner got a lot easier, because you can sort of manipulate his AI. It's still random, but if you stand in certain spots, he seems to tend to appear at certain places more often.
That's why you were like standing just like looking at one place for like the first 5 seconds of the boss fight,
Yeah.
I guess. Neat. Go, go, go.
Okay, now this platform is descending, and I'm gonna try to do a jump into here. Nice. And this is the place where the head belongs. And on the N64, this cutscene is kind of bugged because the camera is looking too high. So you're supposed to have a nice view of the robot, but you just don't see anything. You can barely see the head.
No, so they're trying to keep the spoilers free, so you buy the PC version.
Yeah, that's...
Excellent marketing scheme.
As I was said, as the levels go by, the bullish gets smaller and smaller. And the last level is the biggest offender for reasons which will become very obvious in a short while, because we're almost at the end of this level. Just one more machine part to put in the right place.
Yo, we have 2 now. Yeah, I think there's in Majora's Mask there's like a goat you fight or something. Like in the second temple, I think, and it vaguely kind of resembles that thing, and that's I think why I get the feeling that these like later levels in the game look like Majora's Mask so much.
So Indy activated the machine, and I guess he didn't quite realize what it's gonna do. It opened a portal to the dimension of Aetherium, where the Babylonian god is, and he sent Sophia there, so he better fix his mistake and get her out of there.
Uh-oh. The time to destroy the single powerful being.
Indeed. And suddenly, the atmosphere changes completely. Because it turns out the alternate dimension is this sort of electric, sort of sci-fi space, machinery everywhere. So basically this game did Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls twist before Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls. And it did it better in my opinion, as well.
I see.
Because it's not aliens, it's a different dimension.
Golly. I think the only Indiana Jones movie I've actually seen is maybe a crime, given that I'm commentating. I think,
A tool from beyond.
is it The Lost Crusade? The one with, like, the goblets at the end? They gotta, like, drink from the right one?
Yeah, that's Last Crusade. I mean, that one's the
Yeah,
best one, so good choice.
It was, like, on the TV at, like, some, like, house party, like, some, like, neighborhood party or something like that from, like, when I was, like, a very small child, so I barely remember any of it.
You should watch at least Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's great action.
Well now, this gizmo seems to open up contact with ordinary reality. And I feel better already.
I was gonna explain what this thing does, but Indy just did it anyway. So, yeah, it opens pockets of normal reality. And when you're in the normal reality, the purple bar that's in the bottom right of the screen fills back up. And when you're swimming through this alternate dimension energy, it decreases. And if it hits 0, then you will start to die. And when
It's the sanity meter or something like that.
something like that. And yeah, that's, you could probably notice that the performance here is not ideal at all. This level runs awfully.
Oh, hey, I remember this part. You know, like, disappear into the wall with only, like, your butt showing or something.
We crawl into that corner to glitch, and I really hope the game registered my input. Yes, it did. Because the FPS is so bad here, sometimes it sort of eats your input.
Yeah. Is there any input buffer in this game or anything like that?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. I guess it would make sense given that, you know, it's not like a super technical competitive game or something like that.
Anyway, what I did there is I was in the flying glitch state, and I was on that platform, and that platform is a moving platform, so it's not like the regular structural geometry of the level. It's a model. And it turns out if you're in a flying state on a model and you press the crawl key, it actually removes the glitch. And it puts you in a sunwalk state. So that's why I jumped once before picking up that gem. And that gem is a required item to leave this place. And yeah, the flying... Using the flying glitch there skipped one boss fight, and now we're gonna skip the other boss fight in this level. By going into this door, you can see it's got a blue rim. That means we have to use the blue gem to open it.
Blue screen says, "What, you don't like 5 FPS?" That's kind of crazy.
Wow, this portal is extra powerful, so suddenly normal reality seeps into this dimension. And normally you would have to open all 3 doors to weaken the boss, which is supposed to be in this large chamber, but it hasn't spawned because we skipped a bunch of other stuff. And behind this wall is the escape, and we will crawl into the wall and hover up by mashing the key. So hovering is slightly slower than normal hovering because of the FPS. It sometimes eats the crawl input. But what we want to do is we want to rise up until we hit the sloped part, and then continue until Indy's all the way inside the wall, up until his buttocks. And then when we stand up, it will turn us up on the other side. Just
Taking the phrase "watch your posterior" quite literally.
There's a lot of watching of posteriors in this game. That's very true. There we go. And we're through.
Let's go!
And this is the escape sequence. And normally, everything is falling down because the dimension is disintegrating. But the script is not activated, so it's very calm.
Wait, so we're just leaving Sophie behind?
Yeah, she'll be okay.
Okay.
One little jump. It's the worst feeling if you choke it in here, because you have to do the hovering all over again.
Oh, you do? Oh, that's awful. That's terrifying.
So you do not want to... You can do some more risky jumps here to save time, but you don't want to do it in a normal run. And that's time. This is the end.
Well.
You did it! Woo!
Look, there's the Russian guy.
Our friend. I like his walk animation. He looks large and in
I
charge.
hope not. Whoever we ran into wasn't very
Did we
forgiving.
find God? Hopefully not, because he wasn't very nice, and I was very happy with that, because of course socialism disavows the existence of supernatural powers.
Golly.
And symbolically he helps us climb this tiny little hole. What a
I've saved
gesture.
some time.
Listen,
Setting up all the
can I-
flying would have taken too
you
long,
happen
you
to
know,
have
so
any
a
socialist
friendly
vodka
helping hand.
on I'm thirsty.
And both the sides, the East and the West, bond over a nice glass of socialist vodka. The
And
end.
mirror, all of Mirror's effect.
Yeah, on the PC version, there's a large open area in there. You can see in this cutscene, but they cut it in the N64 version just because of how big it was, and so there's a Hall of Mirrors effect there. That's what I found out when looking at the game files. There's a whole extra space which you can cut. So that was Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine, any % speedrun. I hope you enjoyed the wonderful glitchiness.
Fantastic. I'm very sad that I didn't have the game audio ladder for a lot of these cutscenes. The voice acting is pretty funny. I'm a fan.
It's quite rare that an N64 game has fully voice-acted cutscenes.
Yeah.
Because mostly, a lot of the times they just did text, because audio is so costly in storage space. But Factor 5 are wizards, man.
Yeah. What year did this game come out?
2000, the N64 port. So it's a later N64 game, but still.
Yeah. Fantastic. And now do it again. Blue screen. So wait, your world record's like 113 or something like that, right?
123.
Like 123, okay.
So a 130 is
130.
actually decent pace.
Yeah. What was the new skip you just, like, the new stuff that was discovered that, like, helped you get your most recent world record?
It was the launch strat in the Volcano level, definitely. And then there were optimizations in the river level, the Teotihuacan level in Mexico, and the valley level. Each one of those for, let's say, some tens of seconds. The river was the biggest time save.
Yeah.
And then in the world record, I just managed to chain a lot of those glitches first try quite quickly. The most major time save was the Napstum launch, the hardest one. I actually did it faster now than in the record. So I got it third try, and I think it was the fourth try in the record. So if I got it first try, so that would be about 2 minutes of time save.
So was that the launch where I had to leave for a moment?
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop the recording now. I hope everything was fine, and yeah, hope you enjoyed.